And we are joined today by the host of the Go Blue with Stu podcast, the one and only Stu Douglass. He's a little down in the dumps today. You know, it wasn't a very good night for Stu and for the Michigan faithful tonight.
No, I don't really know what I watched, and I was just waiting. You know, I'm waiting for them to turn around like they always do, and it just didn't happen. And it's like, I feel like an idiot. I don't know, but these things happen. I mean, what are you going to do? It's college basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why they're games.
It looked like the early days of the John Beilein, the Stu Douglass, Zach Novak team, you know?
Well, no, see, the first year we were scrapping. We always stayed in. Second year, we got a little overconfident. So maybe this team doesn't really seem like that. They're not the type of team that seems like super overconfident or they could get like that. I think it was just one of those dry spells. And again, you know, we've talked about it. I've talked about it on the podcast and with you guys, and it's like, they've had the Ohio State game, I think even in the Wisconsin game when they've come back from the break, and like they've had to have one guy kind of step up and save them for like a first half dry spell, and they just had a dry spell the entire game. And then, you know, that happens. They're allowed to have that. Like we keep college basketball, college sports is all about dissecting each game as it happens, and it's like, you know, these are college kids. This is going to happen.
So what was it about this game and this matchup? Was it just you know, Illinois kind of took advantage of some of the questions we have about the point guard play? Was it just something where maybe Michigan came into this thing, oh, they don't have Io DeSumo, there's no way that they're going to be able to win this game? Was it just one of those nights? Like, what do you think happened?
I think Illinois came out and they kept the energy for 40 minutes, and Michigan just got a little uncomfortable, and then they got tight, and then they were kind of looking at each other, and then Franz, you know, guys didn't really show up, and that's fine. Like, it's no super knock on them, but just didn't really show up. They got tight and then got nervous, and then they kind of do that thing where, you know, this is an equal opportunity offense, and it's an offense where everybody's got to flow for one person to flow, and they were just kind of looking at each other, and then nobody was really stepping up. I mean, you know, Austin Davis was the most efficient player out there, and he was scoring on Coburn like it was nothing, and it, you know, if that's going on, that's going to be a rough night for everybody. So they kind of give a flow of things, and you've seen that with this Michigan team where it's like, all right, we're kind of struggling, but we're going to hit that moment where we make a run. Like, you know, they always say the cliche is basketball is a game of runs, and just Michigan just didn't hit it.
I think this is great for them. Honestly, I do. Yeah. I don't like, now you get pounded and embarrassed by a team without the one of the National Player of the Year candidates. And now, you know what? Juwan's got their attention now. He's got their attention. They were able to kind of – listen, they've obviously played great basketball, but I think were they as good as what people were saying? And I think – I don't want to say they've started to kind of, you know, believe their clippings, because they have had one hell of a year. But they're not that good. They're not that good that they can start to not put their foot on the gas and be able to just beat teams, like you said, individually. They got to move the basketball. And they didn't move the basketball tonight, and they also weren't the tougher team. Like, Illinois kind of punked them a little bit.
Oh, the entire time. It was like every possession. And I think they just dared, what's his name, Curbelo and Frazier. Miller, they dared him. I think Illinois had 9 assists on 30 made baskets. They just dared those guys to drive and make plays, and they did. And then there was no adjustments. So that was a little strange. They didn't really try and fix anything with that. And maybe they thought they were just going to get tired. Who knows? But yeah, you're right. Howard can go into that film session and get their attention real quick. I know Beilein always loved. He said it was always it was always very difficult to win to learn after wins. So, like, you know, there's always a appreciation for a loss like this.
Well, do you think that there's always this narrative, right, that sometimes teams need a loss before they go into March, and sometimes you got to get your ass kicked to be able to get woken up or whatever it is? Like, do you believe that? Do you buy that?
Not always. I mean, there's a certain truth to it. I mean, I know my team my senior year, like when we won a share of the Big Ten title, you know, we were gassed out, and then the Big Ten tournament played horrible. We lost in the first round to Ohio, got upset. So, like, mentally that can happen with certain teams. But, like, this team knows that they're a national championship contender, so it's a little different. Like, it's not like a team on a hot streak where you don't know what's going on. Like, you know exactly what this team is about and what they're capable of. So that's a little different. I don't think they exactly need it, but I don't see anything but positives coming from this. So that's at least a plus.
Would it have mattered, Stu, if you think if Juwan kept Hunter in with 3 fouls, would it have mattered, or would he have picked up his 4th? And could they have made a run? Could they have made it interesting potentially?
I don't think so. I think at this point now we realize that, you know, a guy like Franz needs to play more of a part in the offense, and that Hunter is – I'm not saying teams have figured him out, but, like, he's come back down to reality a little bit. Like, he's not going to be averaging 20 and 10, and that's fine. He's still a great player, but they're not going to be running the offense through him. Like, Isaiah and Franz need to be the leaders on offense, and then Mike Smith, you need to pick it up as well. You know, you can definitely run your offense through Hunter. He's definitely got the talent. But to say that he was needed to make a run and he was needed to be kept in with those 3 fouls, like, nah, I'm not going to quite go there.
One of the things that I thought that
1 for 9, 2 points tonight for Franz.
Yeah, like, I just remember watching the game and just like, wait, where is Franz even in? Like, what's going on there? And that's just it's a stepping stone. It's another learning experience for him. He'll get there.
One of the things I think Illinois did well was they kept the ball on one side of the floor, and it felt a little bit like they were able to get Michigan out of the stuff that they were running. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but Michigan does feel like a team where they need to get their offense out of, or they need to get their points out of their offense, right? They need to scheme up shots. They don't necessarily have as many great playmakers if you're going up against a team that can kind of take you out of what you want to do and match up with you one-on-one. And it felt like Illinois was like the first team to really kind of get to them that way.
Yeah, it was odd. There was a couple possessions where I think they were denying, you know, was it Hunter or Austin have it out top and, you know, past 3-point line, and then they were denying the guards, and then kind of guys were just looking at each other. I mean, they were throwing it down to Austin Davis, and, you know, Austin Davis has proven himself to be worthy in the post, honestly. Like, he's honestly been efficient all year. Yeah. But he's not the guy you're going to go to and then just look at and say, you know, throw your hands up and go, all right, make a play, dude. Like, that's not the thing that they're going to do. And there was a couple possessions where they did exactly that. So they got flustered. They got thrown out. And then, you know, it's kind of like, well, who's going to pick it up for us? And just nobody did. And I think that's where Isaiah and especially Franz, Isaiah from like a mental leadership aspect and also, you know, talent-wise, but like Franz from a talent-wise aspect, they both need to lead that team getting out of a rut like that. And it just was not there.
You know what I think also will help Juwan is think about this. Think about how long he was in the NBA and how many of these type of games happen in the NBA. Every night there's one, right? Every night you look at it and you're like, how the hell did like Detroit beat the Celtics, you know, a week and a half ago or whatever? So like, I think if there's somebody that's able to put this in perspective, figure out how to get these guys to learn from it and not let it happen. Now, again, in the NCAA tournament, hopefully you're not going to let it happen, right? You're going to be up for every game. But ultimately, like Juwan's gone through this 100 times.
This is a thing that I think a lot of people don't really recognize, or it's not something they would recognize from a college fan standpoint, but like these coaches carry a lot of weight, and especially a guy like Juwan, and you can take an 18, 19-year-old kid and you can beat the confidence out of them super quick. And, you know, it doesn't matter if this team was undefeated and like guys were averaging 20, like you can get into a guy's head confidence-wise by telling him he sucks for one game. Like, it can be a problem. I don't foresee that. I'm just saying that, you know, there is definitely a balance there. And Juwan is a guy.
Careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff. And Juwan is a guy that knows that these things happen. So he can get in there, dissect it, look at it and say, like, all right, like, yeah, you guys sucked, and this isn't you. And you got to make sure, you got to remind them, like, this is not who we are. You know, instead of like trying to beat them into submission to play better, like that just doesn't work.
Well, you never had that. I mean, you had a guy in Beeline that was smart enough, right? I mean, he never. I mean, did he beat you guys down really ever?
It was different. I think it was different because he was building the culture where it was like he's beating the bad habits out of guys. Right. He's beating culture that he wants into guys. Like, they were not all the guys that he wanted to recruit. I mean, to be honest with you, 6, 7 guys had to pass up on my scholarship to get there. So it was like, it was a little different for him in those film sessions. I imagine, it's just a little more relaxed, especially when you have the type of talent that you have now. And like the 2013 team, for instance, right after I left, he's a little more chill in the film sessions than he was in the first few years of my career.
Well, with Petey and Manny, he wasn't chill with those guys. They didn't buy in right away. Really?
I mean, they were so talented, and they weren't Beilein's guys. So it's like there's a mental thing there that, like, really nothing bad against either of them, but it's from both sides. It's a mental thing that it's hard to really dissect, honestly.
All right, so we got to talk about Illinois here as well, and I think that we've made this point quite a bit, Stu, that the best thing that could have happened to this Illinois team was that Ayo got hurt in retrospect, right? Like, big picture, assuming he comes back and he's healthy, and like this injury is not something that's going to be kind of career altering. The chance to give Andre Curbelo the reins and let him see what it's like to run a college basketball team at this level. The fact that you have to force Adam Miller to be someone to step up and take those shots. I think that in the long run, this is going to be something that is good for them and makes them, in my mind, more likely to be a team that can get to the Final Four and win a national title.
Yeah, where's that sweet spot? Where's that sweet spot for Curbelo? Like, he's not going to be running the game like he was. I mean, he was like a kid in a candy store today. It was like a kid in a playground. He was like, this is why I signed up for basketball. And then when Ayo comes back, it could be a little bit of a rude awakening, but it does prove that they have the talent on the wing to compete. And they can defend against bigger teams with bigger wings. And then also, I think you don't really need Coburn to be posting up and playing down low, and like, just let him set screens and be a big fella and do all that. And that, like, the wings can take over. So it's funny how that works for both sides, but I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, Curbelo was like, he looked so happy out there. It was crazy.
Well, because when he committed, when he signed, he didn't think they'd have Ayo. Like, it was going to be the Curbelo and Adam Miller and Trent Frazier. This was a team that we thought we were going to see this year. And listen, nobody saw this come. Nobody saw this coming. Again, like, Michigan's not this bad. Illinois is not quite this good, obviously, without Ayo. But what it does is it gives them confidence if Ayo gets into foul trouble in the tournament. They know they can win. Now, again, I think the matchup was good in a way for them as far as the bigs, right? I mean, that's the one thing Rob and I have talked about.
They flipped it on its head, right? Like, so the whole thing I was concerned about was, like, how is Illinois going to deal with the size that Michigan has on the wings? Like, Michigan, they can play Shaundi at the 2, they can play Franz at the 3, and Isaiah at the 4. And Illinois' best lineup basically has 4 guys that are small, 6'4" and smaller, with 2 point guards that are like 5'8" on a good day.
Did you guys see Franz get in the paint? Like, I don't remember him getting, like, really in the paint and just
in that one play he got in and then he faded away.
Yeah,
they kind of got him under him. He couldn't really deal with it.
I mean, those are the types of matchups where you got to look across the way and you're like, this dude's 6'3". Like, I am eating today. Like, this is going to be cake. And even if you go 1 for 15, like, that's the mentality you got to keep. And again, I don't want to talk too much crap about Franz. Like, this is a learning experience, and he'll get in film, and Juwan will be like, dude, that dude is 6'3". Like, just go get the ball and go. Same with Isaiah. Like, it's going to be ultimately good for them.
Yeah, I think this was one of those games for Michigan. Obviously, they're 18-2. They're 18-2. Like, if you had told anybody they'd be 18-2 right now, you would have signed up in a heartbeat. Again, now you've got the 4 number 1 seeds, to me, pretty much solidified. It's going to be hard for me to imagine anything changing at this juncture with Gonzaga, with Baylor winning tonight. I mean, there was a huge win for Baylor.
Yeah, we got to talk about that a little bit too. Who does Illinois have left? Do you know? I'm bringing up their schedule right now, actually.
Illinois has,
I think they have 2 games left. No, they have 1. They're at Ohio State on Saturday. And even if they lose that game, I think that they're probably still a little bit above.
Yeah, they'd have to lose that one and probably lose their first game.
They have the most quad 1 wins in all of college basketball. The most quad 1 wins. And now I saw that.
Honestly, I don't see much of a scenario where somebody else can steal a number 1 seed. I mean, maybe something crazy happens, but for the most part, even if Ohio State beats Illinois, I think the only way is if Ohio State beats Illinois and wins the Big Ten tournament. That'd probably be it, or Iowa. I don't even think Iowa can do it. I don't think they can overtake either Illinois
I think Ohio State can. If Ohio State goes on a run and wins the Big Ten tournament, then Ohio State's going to be a 1 seed.
Right. They got to beat Illinois and win the Big Ten tournament, and then they're a number 1 seed, probably, or right there.
Yeah, but right now I think that it's very clear that it's Illinois is the fourth number 1. You got to give them all the credit in the world, man. That was a hell of a performance. The craziest part about it is they played 4 games in 8 days.
Right.
3 of those games are on the road, and they're doing it without Iowa. Like it's really, really impressive what they've been able to do without him. And I don't think that we talked a lot about Michigan on this stream so far.
We got Stu on.
Because we got Stu Douglass, who for people that don't know, he played at Michigan. I know he looks like a deer hunter right now, but he played at Michigan. But I mean, that was very, very, very impressive from Illinois. All right, Stu, how much of the Baylor game did you watch?
I watched a little bit at the end. I saw some at the end, and then the point guard just take it to the body and force OT. So
the truth is, what you went to go turn on ESPN to watch the Michigan game, and the Baylor game ran over. So you ended up watching the end of that.
Yeah, hey Rob, I was making chili before that. Okay, I was prepping chili. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, talk me through it. What do you got? How do you make your chili?
Oh, we had a beef chili with red kidney beans, and then the key is a nice combo of Worcestershire sauce, white vinegar, and Corona.
Corona. You know what I do? I like the beer is a good call. I do the beer as well. But then I take a packet of taco seasoning and I put the taco seasoning in the chili, stir that all up. It gives it a little bit of kick, a little bit of flavor. Makes it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I did my own little taco seasoning. I had my own little fair share of seasonings, but yeah, I like the taco seasoning kick. That's good.
See, my big problem when it comes to chili is that my wife doesn't eat red meat, so I got to make like turkey chili. And like when it's turkey or
make a bean chili, what's the point?
It's just not. It's nowhere near the same. So it's very, got to make some sacrifices when you get married, Stu. It's rough. I can't have beef in my chili.
You can make your own separate chili, I guess. 2 pots.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
All right, Baylor, West Virginia, Goodman, huge win. Did you see this one coming? Probably, I think it's fair to say, best game of the college basketball season to date, most entertaining.
Most entertaining. I'm not sure it was like the best in terms of well played, but it was definitely the most entertaining, and especially when you had Baylor, just kind of the storyline of them coming back, struggling against Iowa State, losing to Kansas, and if they had lost this one tonight and it looked like they were in major trouble, who knows what could have happened to their psyche? And Stu, you could talk to that a little bit. Like you talk about a team that just got it going, that has this long pause. They're out for 3 weeks. They come back. They practice twice. Now, 8 guys. This is something that I've reported here. 8 players on Baylor got COVID in this last run.
That's a lot.
So 8 guys. So you have the break. You have this 19-day break where they didn't practice. Plus 8 guys are coming back from COVID, and everybody reacts differently. Yeah. So, like Kansas fans are killing me when I say, like, that is not Baylor. The other night, they were like 5 days removed from coming back. Now, they're still not Baylor tonight. Like, I still didn't think they were like the Baylor team that we have seen, but they are getting closer and closer, and they needed this win for their psyche as much as anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's momentum both ways. It happens to everybody. Everyone is susceptible to it, especially 18 to 22-year-old kids, where it's like, you get on that stage, you get to the top, and especially when you reach success, where you're like, all right, we got to the top, and then how do you maintain that success? Like, that's what makes teams special, and that is why, that's why Gonzaga gets number 1 seeds and then they lose. Like, it is not easy. It is not easy to maintain success. So it is good that they got this win. On the COVID point, like, I've heard a lot of players where, everything seems normal, and it's like legs are dead for a month, and what are they going to do? Complain? Like, they're taught not to complain, just to keep going. So it could affect them for a long time, especially 8 guys. Like, there's got to be at least 1 or 2 that are going to have lingering effects some way or another. So it's going to be
just energy, and again, you're losing your time and you're not able to practice, and you're coming back from this. So it's the combo.
The other part of it is that when you're trapped in like a dorm room or a hotel room and you got to quarantine, you got to do whatever. Like if you're feeling well and you're at least healthy, then you could do things like just do 500 burpees, and at least then you're going to like keep some kind of like fitness, some kind of win, and some kind of leg strength. If you have COVID and you're just knocked out for even if it's like 3 or 4 days, that could really change the way that like your health. And you've played a higher level of sports than either of us. Like, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything helps. Again, they are like 18 and 20-year-old kids. So like my warm up back then was just, the first game of open gym. And now it's like, hold on guys, 20 minutes of all this routine. And so it's obviously very different for them. But like the thing with COVID is like, you maybe not even get sick and you feel fine. And like you work out and then it hits you where you're like, your legs are dead, your lungs are dead. So it's a strange thing to maneuver where we're probably not even going to get the truth about how those guys feel.
Yeah. Goodman, the one thing I would have pushed back on you on, though, is that you said that you don't think this was the real Baylor. I thought it was.
I still don't.
Look,
yeah.
West Virginia,
I still don't think all the way back.
They might not be all the way back, but that was the Baylor right there. That was them digging deep and making the plays at the end of the game that they needed to make. Yeah. West Virginia has a lot of dudes that can score. West Virginia is very difficult to match up with the 4 guys that have shooting. They had Sean McNeil going. They had Miles McBride going. They had Taj Sherman going, right? When those 3 guys are going, like they are very tough to guard, especially when they got the big fella inside that's eating everybody up. So the fact that they were on the road against a team like this in overtime, coming back down the stretch, to me, just like that tells you everything you need to know about this group. Maybe they're not back to 100% yet, but that's what you need.
Like Everyday John isn't back. He's not back. He's not playing the minutes. He was the last one to come back, right? So like he's definitely not back. I thought Matthew Meyer saved him tonight to some degree. I mean, some of the moves he made. I mean, listen, I tweeted like his upside is ridiculous. It is. It's now the hair's got to go. Like he's got to get rid of that mop top or whatever it is. But it's bad, Stu.
No, it's great.
You jealous?
I love every part of it. Oh yeah, it's like buzz on the side a little bit. Like it's perfectly manicured.
He really does look like a guy that should be sitting in front of deer antlers when he's on a live stream talking about that.
He definitely does. He's probably got like 7 on his wall.
Yeah, he's so funny, man. Like I talked to him last week for a while, and the big thing of him is like he'll lose his phone a million times. Like he's like the most like immature in a different way, right? Like his car's a disaster. Like my 17-year-old daughter, like the same thing.
Did you hear his story about how he put on the weight this summer?
He told me.
He ate fast food 3 times a day. They said he wanted to put on 25 pounds, so he ate like Whataburger 3 times a day. And he came back to campus, and his body fat percentage was like 18%. And so he put on the weight, but then he had to turn all the weight into muscle. He said it was pretty awful trying to get like himself not looking like a fat slob. But I'll tell you what, someone with that hair, I'm not surprised that the way they put on weight was to eat fast food 3 times a day.